Hi, I'm Craig D'Arville,
Hi, I'm Stephen Bulger.
and together we co-own FFOTO.com. We are co-hosting portfolio reviews in Stephen Bulger Gallery in the near future and thought we'd make a short video to offer some advice to artists who plan to attend.
Yeah,
Stephen, do you want to just jump right in?
sure, please
Okay.
go.
Okay. Um, why are portfolio reviews important for artists?
Well, I think it's important, especially because in general terms, you're meeting a stranger, but it's a stranger who has a vested interest in photography and is there to help. And having these like 20-minute one-on-one sessions is invaluable for getting feedback as well as suggestions about where to go.
And what kinds of reviewers, from the industry, what backgrounds will reviewers generally have?
It's a bit of a mix. So it's anyone using photography in one way or the other. So you have commercial galleries like myself, you have private art dealers, you have museum curators, you have photo editors, magazine editors. Sort of it runs the gamut of people that use photography in one way or the other.
And what do you think the appeal is for reviewers to become reviewers at portfolio reviews?
It's twofold. That one, I mean, we're always looking for new talent that can help us, right? And by helping us, then we're helping the photographer. But also, the people that are coming to to review portfolios are willing to offer their advice and constructive criticism. They want to give back to the community in one way or the other, and they feel it's important to offer this service.
Right, because we are all part of a community.
That's it exactly.
Exactly. Um, so, from the artist side, what should an artist hope to achieve by attending a portfolio review in general?
It really depends on what level they're at themselves. I mean, we get some people that treat photography as a hobby and they just want to know how to make better pictures. So in those situations, like you're really leaving it up to the reviewer to maybe point out what they think are the best pictures and the worst pictures and describing why they feel that way about each one. If you're sort of maybe what you would call mid-career, that you've maybe had some exhibitions, you're not sure if you're reaching the right audience, you might be looking for advice on, where this person should exhibit or how they should get their work out there. If it's a senior artist, they'll probably want to, only meet with curators and gallery owners and maybe some book editors because they're at that stage where they're ready to publish a book or they want their work in a museum collection or they want representation by a gallery.
And related to that, what should an artist intend to communicate to reviewers about their portfolios? What is it that they want? Should they want to be able to communicate something specific?
It really helps because the reviewers are coming into it completely cold and they only have 20 minutes. So it's great if the person with the portfolio lets the reviewer know why they're there because it might be as simple as, I just had this as a hobby. Like, how do I get better? Am I using the right camera? That type of question. Um, because if there's no information given and the work looks amateurish,
Mm.
if you're sitting in front of a museum curator, they're not going to know what to do because they go with the assumption that this person is looking for a museum show. And if the work isn't there, it can make for an awkward session. So it's good to be clear about your intentions and what you hope to achieve, and then that gives the reviewer a way into how to assess the work, like if it's maybe not to be so harsh on their criticism, that type of thing.
Mhm. General, are there standard questions that artists should ask reviewers? For instance, do you see any gaps in the work that I'm making, or specific technical execution questions, or anything that might not work? Are those generally good questions to ask?
Oh, I think certainly, like anything that the photographer is wondering about, that's the time to ask those questions. So And it could relate to exactly what you're saying, that, are these printed well?
Hmm.
Um, are they the right size? If it's some sort of narrative, is there anything that, looking at it cold, is there anything that looks like it doesn't belong in the portfolio? Like, you're really looking for advice on what's wrong with your portfolio.
Right.
So anything that's in the back of your mind that you're wondering that, yeah, I don't know if this is the right picture, ask those questions, because that's the time to ask.
And is it useful to be that direct to a reviewer? Can you tell me, do you see anything that's wrong with my
Oh,
portfolio?
completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and again, they only have 20 minutes. So, and you've got, in some cases, a life's work that went into that 20 minutes. And the reviewer isn't sure how to coach their comments. Um, so any leading questions you can offer helps the reviewer quite a bit, and
Mhm.
then you get a more informed opinion about your work, which then helps you as a reviewee.
From the artist side of the table, are there common mistakes that artists
Mm.
make when they're at portfolio reviews that you can identify?
Yeah, no, no, I'm only speaking as a commercial gallery
Hmm.
owner, but what we're looking for is like something concise. So we're interested in seeing if someone can do one thing really well. And by that, I mean, in a portfolio of 10 to 20 pictures, is there something there? Is there a core of an exhibition there? So it's really taking one thing that you really want someone to see and want to get their opinion on, but it's done. And then if we think it's done well, then we're interested in knowing everything else you've done. What some people make the mistake of doing is showing up with what I call a greatest hits portfolio. So they'll have, color and black and white, landscape, still life, cityscape, street photograph, and what have you. And it's very difficult for someone like me to get a sense of that person being able to put together an exhibition. Like, if you put it in music terms, like, groups don't have a greatest hits album until they've had two or three studio albums.
Right.
So thinking about a photographer, I mean, you want to have at least one good solid portfolio that's about something, and then that impresses someone, and then they want to see everything else.
Right. So then that leads to the next question: how much work should an artist have with them to show at a portfolio review where they only have 20 minutes with each reviewer?
Yeah, it's a great question, because sometimes people bring way too much. I think somewhere around 10 to 20 pictures is sufficient.
Hmm.
And also, if you're approaching someone that's selling like photographic objects like I do, it's important to let someone see what those objects look like. And as an example, if you're making 30 by 40-inch photographs that are quite large, I don't need to see every picture printed to that scale, but I need to see one, and that's what I usually want to see first.
Mm.
And it doesn't have to be matted or framed or mounted, but it does have to be printed to the quality that it would be for exhibition. And it's one of those prints that you're going to roll up and then unroll, and it's going to get some crimps in it, and it's going to be rendered unsaleable, but it's still enough to give me a frame of reference. And
Right.
then once I see that one photograph, then I can look at an iPad for the rest of the portfolio. But what's impossible for me to do is to look at someone's, little prints, and then they're telling him, oh, these are going to be 50 by
Right.
60 inches, because I don't know if I'm going to like those more or less than what I'm looking at.
Right. So worry less about the condition of the full scale print that an artist is bringing and more about the compositional strength and production quality of it.
Exactly.
So if it's frayed around the edges, that's fine.
Completely
Reviewers
fine.
understand this is a traveling document.
Exactly.
Right on. Um, when you talk about 10 to 15 photographs, should that ideally be all from one project or can it be from more projects? Ideally, how many series or projects would a reviewer want to see by an artist?
I would say with 10 or 15, that would be about one subject or one project. And if there's time, Because some reviewers go through things very quickly and others very slowly.
Mhm.
So you should lead with whatever sort of your top project is. And I think it's good to have a couple of others sort of up your sleeve
Right,
in case there is more time, or in case they say, I'm curious, like, what did you do before this? Or, if it's an older project, well, what are you working on now? And to have at least, 5 or 10 of those secondary projects waiting if it's possible to delve into them is a good idea.
right. Yes, I know that in the past that I've appreciated that because sometimes your feedback is wrapped up quickly
Hmm.
and you're engaging with the artist and you are curious and you have the time. It's like, what else do you have? How should an artist's presentation be prepared? Whether it's a physical portfolio or sharing a laptop screen, is it important? Is the sequencing important?
It is for me. I think that one way to think about it is an exhibition in a box. So if someone is preparing an exhibition, they have an order or a sequence of that work that makes sense to them, that they think conveys that their ideas to the viewer. And it should be the exact same in a review session so that there's an order to it. It makes sense. You can talk about it that
Mhm.
way. And it shows your mastery of your work.
Right. Should artists take notes while they're with reviewers? Does that slow
Uh,
things down?
It depends on the person. Like some people are really good at just having like shorthand
Hmm.
and capturing key phrases. Um, what I would recommend is that if you're unable to do that, or if that's a little overwhelming, or if you feel it's getting in the way of someone having a conversation with you, it's good to take 5 or 10 minutes immediately after the review and just go somewhere and write whatever those first impressions were that you
Right.
remember from the interview.
That's a good use of that break between reviews that we have. We
Exactly.
put cushion in that 10 minutes. And so if somebody isn't a quick writer, but they did want to make sure they weren't getting scrambled by all of the information they're receiving, if a reviewer is open to it, can an artist ask if they mind being recorded during their portfolio review?
Oh, certainly. And they just have to ask that right at the start. And, if the reviewer just feels uncomfortable with that, they will let you know. But I would think that most would be okay with that.
Right, right. So let's say there's 25 reviewers in a
Hmm.
session coming up. As an artist, how would you recommend they go about identifying the reviewers that they might want to sit with?
It's a good question. And the most review sessions will offer a little bio of the reviewers. And I think that's an opportune time to do some self evaluation. So, if you're a beginner and you're looking for general feedback and especially, how to type of information, you should look for educators because those are people that are day in and day out well suited to help people with constructive criticism. If you are an established artist and you're looking to grow your market and you don't really need that sort of critical feedback, you're just looking for opportunities, then you might want to look specifically for art consultants just
Mhm.
to get your work in front of professionals whose business it is to sell work by professional artists.
What should artists maybe keep in mind when it comes to the reviewers that they want to select?
It sometimes, someone's work is so specific that they come to these events with the idea that there's three people that they want to
Mm,
meet. And sometimes, because of the luck of the draw, you might only get one of those three people. So you might be faced with a reviewer that isn't someone that you had intended to show your work to. You have to use it as a positive experience and something that might lead to something else. So, don't think of it as a wasted opportunity or nothing's going to come of it
mhm.
because you just never know. And, you should be fully prepared for every person that you sit in front of and get whatever information you can from them.
Right, right. Um, Related to that, how important is having an open mind when heading into portfolio for an artist?
I think it's important for both sides
Hmm.
actually, because um, like someone like me, that we're looking for certain types of work, um, but sometimes you're just completely surprised by a portfolio and it's something that is unexpected. So if you go into it thinking that, oh, you're just interested in looking at this and this, you may not see the excellence in something that's coming out of left field. And the same with um, someone getting their work reviewed. Like, I mean, it might be that you have no interest in, say, publishing a book, but then you're sitting in front of a book publisher. Um, they're someone that's steeped in information about editing, sequencing, formatting, and you could use them for that expertise, which will help your work, but maybe not in the way that you imagined when you got there in the morning.
Right, right. Um, should artists plan on having business cards or any other materials to leave with the reviewers they speak to?
I think so, and not to go overboard with it, but I think a card with a visual on it. So maybe pick your favorite picture,
Hmm.
and then on the back of it, your contact information like name, phone number, uh, website address, and email.
Right, right,
Um, because a lot of reviewers will maybe meet 10 people in a day, and it's hard to remember people's work by their name only. So having that sort of visual clue that's with your name
right.
attached really helps people. Like, oh no, this is the person I was trying to remember.
And sometimes these reviews can provide opportunities that can pay off further down the road if there's an interest on the reviewer side. If they're excuse me, an exhibition programmer or a publisher or a magazine editor,
Hmm.
uh, um, how do they want to be able to find that person that they connected with?
Exactly. And it
So,
because sometimes, the reviewer, it could be months go by and they're working on a project or they hear about a project and they're like, oh, I remember meeting that person at that photo. Like, which one was that?
mm,
And then, most people will keep files, and then you go into your photo review file and you're like, oh, it's this person.
right.
So, yeah, having that information is important.
So, and having an image attached to it
Definitely.
reinforces that recognition from the person who's going through the materials they have.
Yeah.
Great advice. Okay, so the portfolio review is complete. What should an artist do next?
Depends on one thing as a closing is that you can ask the reviewer that if I have updates about the work, would you like to know about it?
Hmm.
And that gives the reviewer a chance to say, I'd be happy to receive updates and I'd like to know where you end up with this. Or if you're telling them about an exhibition and it's in their city, that they'd probably want to see where you ended up going with it. Um, if they really think that they don't have anything to offer you, then they might decline that.
Hmm.
But at least
Right. Great.